All right, it is now time for Top Talkers. Joining us on the panel today, we have Trisha Owens joining us from Majic 100. Leanne Cusack is joining us from CTV News at noon.
Good morning.
And Stoodley has made his way over from the anchor desk over to
I'm subbing for
busy
the
man.
Yeah,
I'm
Cub
subbing
Carson.
for the missing Cub Carson. Cub, wherever you are, his microphone is doing all the noisy.
Someone's microphone. Well, we'll keep talking. Eventually, we'll figure out which one of us it is. The topic right now is Generation Y and the workplace. So this discussion happened because an individual working for a certain place sent out a tweet saying, after a careful reflection, I've decided to leave my job. You can read more on this blog. And then went into a 3,000-word manifesto. Got crazy response from a lot of people, like 1,500 retweets.
Kind of slamming the boss a bit.
Slamming
right?
the company, etc. But what I think that kind of leads into is just the difference in mentality between this Generation Y, which they call millennials. And I didn't know this word until recently this morning. Millennials, yeah, loosely defined as those born after 1980, aren't afraid of quitting their jobs. So that's the generation that we're kind of looking at. Were you surprised by this article in terms of what we're seeing from a younger generation?
Not really, and only because my encounters with this generation is that there seems to be this sense of entitlement, and not for the entire generation. So I certainly don't want to, paint them all with the same brush, but they just think things should be handed to them and they don't have to work quite as hard for it. So no, not too surprising for me. That's very political. I don't know. I might be getting myself in trouble, but
I'm just terrified that we're suddenly old enough to talk about a younger generation. I haven't been able to get past that.
I am certainly well.
Well, it's interesting because you were diplomatic in that there are some of this generation who are that way, and others, I guess my mic is the naughty mic.
Yes.
Bad things are happening back there with your mic.
Thank you very much for that. Now that didn't throw me off of my train of thought, did it? Essentially, I think that there are some of the generation who are like that, and they call them, I think, the pampered child was the term that Maggie Mammon, who's a prominent psychotherapist, used, or the teacup generation, or the failure to launch generation. But at the same time,
Failure to launch?
philosophically, some of them are saying that they would take less money if they knew that their employers had a social conscience and if they knew there was some upward mobility in the company.
The other side of the debate is this: are companies as loyal as they used to be? And I think that's, I think that generally the answer is no.
Right.
People are moving around at a rapid pace. There are shuffle employees in and out.
Did you read the article? Because if not, you're just flipping brilliant. That's what they say the whole tenet of this is that they've seen relatives, parents, uncles, aunts laid off with no sense of loyalty from their longtime company. And so that's where their attitude is born.
A lot of people wonder what the reasons are for that, and I think it's just a sign of the times. And I mean, it goes both ways in this case. But I agree with you completely. I only know this business, to be honest with you. I mean, we talk to a lot of people in the run of a day in other businesses. But the sense I get from what we do in our ever-shrinking broadcasting industry is that, I'm not done, there it is.
Yikes.
Is that, you know how we all scratched and clawed to get to where we are today.
And made a lot of sacrifices.
We're in one of the major markets in the country, right? But we all didn't start out, well, Leanne started out here, but in a different way and had to work her way up to a certain level. Now I think people coming into this business in particular that we know, they really feel like they should be in a major market right away, and oh my God, how come I'm not making as much money as the guy who put in 35 years over there?
Exactly.
And we're seeing that. I mean, we're seeing that in our industry, but they're seeing that everywhere, especially when you're looking at these tech industries. People are jumping. I mean, they're staying there for months at a time and are constantly, and as they're saying it, building their own portfolios. And I want to say a quote: "I've taken that loyalty upon myself rather than rely on an employer that could care less about me or an elusive dream job to keep me satisfied."
So the whole concept is that these younger people are staying in jobs for just months at a time and then leaving without.
And always looking for something
always looking for something.
Okay,
But I
or
think as a young
having the
person to do
courage
that.
to be able to leave, though, too, right? I mean, it's a scary environment out there as well, right? I mean, there's not as many jobs, so. I mean, I guess maybe good for them that they're confident enough that they'll get something else.
Even in this business, didn't you find that, like I started in radio, and when I was a young
How many watts was that radio station?
I don't know. It was in a capital city. I know that my first full-time job, so I was very pleased, despite the fact it was St. John's, right? But it was a capital city, and I felt lucky to be doing that. And I started at the midnight to 6 a.m. shift, right? But anyway, you know, I look at that time and I know there was a lot of young people in the same boat, and they were always constantly scouting around to see if they could move up the ladder and move to bigger cities for bigger jobs, right? So is that comparable to what's going on now?
Right.
Or?
Yeah.
I want to make one comment, because we were talking about this generation and you were talking about the helicopter parents and the kind of the not taking lunch, because a lot of that, there was a quote saying that from their parents, they're saying, I don't want you to do anything that you're not good enough for, right? So
Or that's not good enough for you.
That's not good enough for you, right? So you have your parents who have been part of this generation of kind of, you can do it, and you know, you're the
wonderful.
best.
Everyone gets a trophy.
Yes, everyone gets a
See,
trophy.
that's wrong.
But that's how
We
far
should-
back
It
it's
is wrong.
going.
I
shouldn't-
agree.
We
I
shouldn't
agree.
have winners of any games.
Right?
Well,
Come
well,
on.
there's an element.
There's no employment, and there's no loyalty, and there's a lot of things coming.
See, the
one-
attitude has changed.
The one thing I do feel bad for in this generation is a lot of them are graduating from university and are not able to find jobs within their industry. There are very few jobs, and so they're required
Then
to be able
pick
to
a
pay
new
back
industry.
a lot of the student debt that they're taking on these jobs as is, to kind of just be able to start to pay back things.
The whole
I'm trying to play
corollary
one.
conversation is where are they going when they quit these jobs? Back home. So
Oh,
there's,
the boomerang. Yes.
there's something to be said for the
Not my kids.
Stay calm.
You're on your own.
Just, I don't know
Giddy
how
up
much
now.
time we have, but craziest job you've ever had.
Oh gosh, I've had some pretty good job. Deli girl, I guess. I don't know.
I cleaned a movie theater for 1 week and then I quit.
I worked for my dad. My dad had restaurants. I worked for him. And then I've literally been here since I was 22 years old. I came out of college. I started here. And I mean, if you're looking at company loyalty,
16.
but you worked, you know, I worked a million hours
Yeah.
on the weekends
And
from
didn't
10
your dad
a.m.
make you
until
do-
midnight, you know.
Didn't your dad make you do the crap job so you'd learn?
I had to learn.
Nah.
It was
And I
different.
started in this industry at 20 years old as well, but I'd had a lot of jobs in the you know, prior, I think
I worked
7
at a-
years, because I worked for a long, long time.
I worked at a photo hut.
Oh, did you?
In a mall.
You might have taken one of my craziest jobs. I was Katra, She-Ra's evil adversary from the He-Man comics. I was in the mall
Did you do that?
in the costume. You might have been
Okay,
taking the
This is-
picture.
this is up for another discussion.
I did Chewbacca one time
God.
at the Micmac Mall in Dartmouth.
Okay, we have
Uncle's
got
Roadside
completely
Vegetable
off topic.
Stand.